Why is it that some men walk into a room and everyone feels their presence without a word spoken, while others are ignored, even mocked? The truth is, you don't need wealth, status, or even loudness to command respect. What you need is an aura, an invisible force that unsettles and terrifies those who dare to underestimate you. In this, when a man walks into a room, people are not reacting to his words, his clothes, or even his physical strength. They are reacting to something deeper, something they cannot fully explain: his presence. Presence is not about being loud, flamboyant, or desperately demanding attention. In fact, the more a man tries to force recognition, the weaker his presence becomes. True presence, the kind that unsettles and terrifies others without a word, begins with something far darker and more profound: the refusal to wear the mask society has forced upon him. Most people move through life hiding their true selves behind masks of politeness, submission, and people-pleasing. They desperately crave approval and fear rejection. They smile when they want to snarl. They nod when they want to disagree. And they bend when they want to stand tall. This creates a hollow energy around them, and the world senses it. Others may not consciously understand why, but they feel the weakness in such a person. It is why some men are overlooked and dismissed. Even when they try their hardest to be respected, presence cannot be faked. It emerges when a man embraces his entire being, including the parts he wishes to keep buried. Every man has a shadow, a side of himself filled with instincts, aggression, desires, and truths he suppresses in order to fit in. Society teaches him to reject these parts, to act tame, soft, agreeable, and safe. Yet when he suppresses these aspects, he becomes incomplete. His aura loses its weight because he no longer radiates the fullness of human power. When a man stops running from his shadow and instead accepts it as part of himself, something shifts. People feel the difference. They may not know why, but they know he is not like the rest. His presence carries an unsettling depth because he is no longer fragmented. He is whole. This wholeness creates a mirror effect. When others look at him, they unconsciously confront their own suppressed shadows. They feel the weight of their own lies, fears, and weaknesses reflected back at them. This is why presence terrifies. It is not that you outwardly threaten people, but that your very existence forces them to face what they have long avoided. You become a mirror they cannot escape, a mirror that reflects the truth they deny. This is power on a psychological level. People fear you because you remind them of themselves, of the things they bury, of the strength they lack. The dark mirror of presence is not about physical intimidation. It is not about flexing muscles or shouting commands. It is about embodying authenticity so deeply that people feel uneasy in your presence because they cannot hide from themselves when they are around you. They may not even consciously realize it, but their bodies know. Their instincts know. They hesitate, they stutter, they avoid eye contact, or they grow defensive. They feel you in a way they do not feel others, because you are not hiding behind masks. To cultivate this aura, you must first confront yourself. You must be willing to sit in silence with your own darkest thoughts, to admit the truths you deny, to acknowledge the emotions you fear, and to accept the instincts you were taught to suppress. By facing these aspects, you integrate them, and integration is what gives you weight. Most men are scattered, pulled apart, hiding fragments of themselves in shame. A man who has integrated his shadow moves differently. He is calm because nothing within him is repressed. He does not fear confrontation, rejection, or judgment because he has already faced the worst within himself. This makes him untouchable. Presence becomes magnetic when it radiates this inner stillness. People cannot manipulate a man who accepts his shadow. They cannot easily provoke him or reduce him to emotional chaos. Because his center is solid, they sense that he cannot be swayed like others, and this unsettles them. In a world where most men are desperate to be liked, a man who is unapologetically whole creates an aura that feels dangerous. Others feel small in his presence, not because he actively belittles them, because their fragmented selves are exposed in contrast to his completeness. There is a reason why silence has always been feared more than noise. Noise is familiar, it can be explained, categorized, and dismissed. But silence unsettles the human mind because it leaves space for the imagination to wander, and the imagination always paints darker and more dangerous possibilities than reality itself. This is why those who cultivate silence as part of their aura become figures of fascination and fear. They do not reveal themselves easily, and in this restraint lies their power. Most men betray themselves with their words. They speak to fill empty space. They explain to justify their actions. They reveal their insecurities in an effort to gain approval. They talk too much because they fear being misunderstood. And in that endless stream of words, they make themselves predictable. Once a man becomes predictable, he loses all mystery, and without mystery there can be no aura that terrifies. The truly powerful understand that silence is not emptiness, but presence. When you resist the urge to explain yourself, you force others to create their own interpretations. They are left wondering what you mean, what you intend, and what you might be capable of. That uncertainty makes them cautious, and caution is the seed of fear. Silence is also an assertion of dominance. In a conversation, the one who speaks least is often the one who holds the most authority. By speaking only when necessary, you train others to listen closely when you finally choose to speak. Your words gain weight because they are not wasted. Each sentence becomes a deliberate act, a tool rather than a leak of nervous energy. This calculated silence creates an atmosphere where people feel they are being observed, judged, and measured, even when you are merely present. The human mind despises ambiguity, and when you provide no clear signals, it begins to fill the gaps with its own insecurities. People project their fears, their suspicions, and their hidden weaknesses onto you, and your silence becomes the canvas for their darkest imaginings. Mystery grows from this silence. The less you reveal, the more others crave to understand you, yet the more they fail to pin you down, the greater their unease. People fear what they cannot define. They know how to respond to anger, laughter, or loud declarations. But how do they respond to someone who reveals nothing? They cannot prepare themselves, and this lack of preparation terrifies them. Your aura becomes something they cannot control or categorize. You are no longer just a man. You become a symbol of possibility, and possibility is more threatening than certainty. This aura of silence is not about being mute or socially withdrawn. It is about deliberate control. You know when to hold your tongue, when to withhold your intentions, and when to let the silence grow heavy in the air. You understand that silence is not passive but active, a choice that shifts the balance of power in your favor. Each pause becomes a moment where others wrestle with their own discomfort, revealing more about themselves than they ever intended, while you remain unreadable. This unreadability is the essence of psychological intimidation. Mystery does not only come from words left unsaid, but also from the way you carry yourself. A calm gaze that lingers without explanation, a half smile that refuses to clarify itself, a body posture that exudes stillness instead of nervous movement. These elements contribute to the aura. When combined with silence, they create a powerful effect. Others are forced to interpret you, and in their attempt, they expose their own hidden fears. They ask themselves questions: what is he thinking? What does he know? What is he capable of? These questions echo louder than any speech could, and they leave people cautious in your presence. By cultivating silence and mystery, you become the storm that never declares itself, the flame that burns without flickering. You deny others the satisfaction of knowing your limits or your weaknesses. And in this denial, you create distance, uncertainty, and fear. In a world where most men crave validation and reveal everything to gain acceptance, the man who embraces silence becomes an enigma, and an enigma is always powerful because it cannot be mastered. The man who cannot command his emotions is a man enslaved, not by others, but by himself. Every outburst, every uncontrolled reaction, every display of desperation announces weakness to the world. People read him like an open book, and once they know what provokes him, they own him. Yet there exists another kind of man, one who does not extinguish his emotions, but controls them as though they were fire in his hands. This is the man whose aura terrifies, because his emotions are not random storms, but deliberate signals, precise and calculated. Many confuse strength with emotional suppression, the illusion of being a cold, unfeeling stone. But suppression is merely fragility hidden beneath a mask. The man who denies his emotions is not in control, he is fragile, because the dam always bursts. True mastery comes not from rejecting emotion, but from wielding it. Anger, when expressed recklessly, destroys trust and respect. But anger, when controlled and released with precision, becomes a weapon sharper than steel. Calm, when natural and genuine, radiates a stillness that unsettles those addicted to chaos. Passion, when channeled instead of wasted, inspires both fear and admiration. The aura of a powerful man comes from this control. People cannot shake him. They cannot bait him with insults, nor draw him into petty arguments, nor watch him crumble under pressure. He is not numb. He feels deeply, but his emotions bow to his command. When he chooses to remain silent in the face of provocation, it is not because he is incapable of reaction, because he has decided the other does not deserve it. That restraint terrifies, because it reveals superiority. People realize they are not in control of him. He is in control of himself. This control creates an unspoken hierarchy. Those who cannot master their emotions sense the presence of one who can, and instinctively they feel smaller. They recognize a level of discipline they cannot reach, and in that recognition, respect and fear arise. The man who radiates controlled emotion becomes untouchable. Others wonder what it would take to break him, and when they cannot find an answer, they step carefully. The controlled flame is also magnetic. People are drawn to intensity, but only when it is stable enough not to consume them. A man who leaks emotions erratically pushes people away, but one who radiates an aura of restrained fire attracts attention. His intensity feels deliberate, intentional, and therefore powerful. He can sit in silence with his emotions contained, and the room feels his presence. He can speak with controlled passion, and every word lands like a strike. He can express anger with precision, and it creates more fear than 100 uncontrolled rants. Think of fire itself. When it rages wildly, it is destructive but also wasteful, consuming everything without purpose. When it is extinguished entirely, it offers no warmth, no light, no energy. But when it is controlled, when it is directed through a torch or a forge, it becomes creation, power, and mastery. Emotions follow the same law. To let them burn uncontrollably is to appear weak. To smother them is to appear hollow. To master them is to radiate the aura that terrifies, because people sense the hidden fire and know it could be unleashed at any moment, yet you choose when and how. This mastery requires deep awareness. You must know the triggers that ignite your emotions, not to avoid them, but to confront them without fear. You must learn to feel anger without being consumed by it, to feel sadness without drowning in it, to feel passion without letting it scatter your focus. Each emotion, when accepted and understood, becomes another flame in your arsenal. While others are enslaved by their moods, you become the one who chooses when to reveal warmth and when to scorch. The terrifying part of such mastery is the unpredictability it creates. People cannot gauge you. They cannot tell if you are offended, threatened, or moved, because your face does not betray every passing impulse. Yet when you finally reveal an emotion, it strikes with precision. A sudden smile that appears at the exact moment someone expects your anger unsettles them. A calm silence in the face of aggression shatters the confidence of those who wanted to provoke you. A calculated word spoken in controlled anger feels heavier than a storm of shouting ever could. This is the controlled flame of emotion. It is not the absence of fire, but the presence of a fire so carefully mastered that others feel its heat even when you remain still. They know the fire exists. They sense it in your eyes, your movements, your restraint, and that knowledge alone terrifies them because they realize they cannot manipulate or predict you. Power does not lie in constant presence. It lies in the tension created between absence and appearance, in the way people begin to measure the value of your presence by how rarely they are allowed to experience it. Those who are always accessible, always eager, always around dissolve into the background like furniture, useful, perhaps, but never feared or respected. The man who understands the architecture of distance knows that the human mind is built to desire what it cannot easily possess and to fear what it cannot easily reach. He becomes scarce not because he is weak, but because his scarcity multiplies his weight. Familiarity breeds contempt. This truth has echoed through history, ignored by those desperate for validation. When you are constantly available, people stop seeing your value. Your words lose gravity because they are too easily given. Your presence loses mystery because it is always there, stripped of any aura. When you control your distance, when you step back deliberately, people begin to notice the emptiness you leave behind. They grow uneasy, they feel your absence, and they remember your presence more vividly because it is not taken for granted. Distance magnifies. This architecture of distance is not about vanishing or isolating yourself. It is about deliberate rhythm. You appear, you make an impression, and then you withdraw, leaving others to sit with the impact. That withdrawal is what terrifies, because in your absence people begin to wonder. Where is he? Why is he not here? What is he planning? The human mind hates uncertainty, and distance feeds that uncertainty. You become more powerful by doing less, because each time you step back, imagination does the work for you. They create stories, fears, and suspicions that all revolve around your presence, even when you are not there. The aura of distance also establishes hierarchy. The man who is always available to everyone communicates that his time and energy are cheap. The man who chooses carefully when and where to appear communicates that his presence is valuable. He does not rush to every call or bend to every demand. He teaches others that they must earn his attention, and in this earning, they elevate him above themselves. Distance builds a throne without walls. It makes others come to you rather than you chasing them. Think of the ancient kings and rulers who rarely revealed themselves to the public. Scarcity gave rise to legends, myths, and fear. People spoke of them more than they saw them, and this distance turned them into something greater than human. The same principle applies in personal life. If you are too close, too familiar, too exposed, people will see your flaws, they will grow comfortable, and comfort kills fear. But if you control exposure, if you keep layers hidden, if you appear less often but with greater intensity, your aura becomes one of power. Distance is also a test. It reveals who truly values you, and who only seeks you out because of convenience. Those who drift away when you step back were never strong connections to begin with. Those who feel your absence and move closer when given the chance reveal themselves as loyal or dependent. Either way, distance gives you clarity. It separates the trivial from the essential, the weak from the strong, the opportunist from the genuine. But above all, distance terrifies because it denies control. People want to feel they can reach you, predict you, rely on you at any moment. When they cannot, when your rhythm of presence and absence is your own, they lose that sense of control. They must adapt to you, not the other way around. They begin to wait, to anticipate, to imagine, and in that waiting, their dependence on you grows. This dependence fuels your aura. Your silence already unsettles them. Your distance ensures that even when you are gone, you are never truly absent from their thoughts. The aura that terrifies others is not built on noise, arrogance, or shallow displays of power. It is carved from something deeper, something most men never dare to face. It is born from the dark mirror of presence, where you stop hiding behind masks and force others to confront their own shadows when they stand before you. It is strengthened through the aura of silence and mystery, where your restraint becomes more powerful than another man's endless words, and where the unknown in you unsettles those who cannot define you. It is sharpened by the controlled flame of emotion, where every feeling you carry becomes a weapon in your command, rather than a weakness others can exploit. And finally, it is completed through the architecture of distance, where your scarcity multiplies your value and your absence becomes more powerful than another man's constant presence. This is the essence of an aura that terrifies, not loudness, not chaos, but a calm, deliberate mastery over yourself. People fear what they cannot understand, what they cannot control, and what they cannot predict. When you integrate your shadow, wield silence, master your emotions, and create distance, you embody all three. And when that happens, you no longer need to demand respect. Respect becomes inevitable, fear becomes instinctive, and your aura speaks long before you ever open your mouth.